Welcome to the Excuse Masters podcast.
Hey, this is Tim Kaufman. Thank you so much for joining me as I talk to some of the most amazing people on the planet about excuses and why they didn't let excuses hold them back from a plant-based lifestyle. So sit down, buckle up, and hang on as my guests show you how to
Smash excuses.
Okay, it's been a little while, but we're back, and we're going to do an Excuse Masters tonight, and I am super, super pumped up to have Ray with us. And Ray, we just thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, and we appreciate it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, just take a few minutes and tell us how a plant-based lifestyle has changed you. Like, what does that look like in your life, and what did your life look like before?
Well, let's put it this way. I have never in my memory been able to wear a small undershirt, you know. I like to wear the ones with the pocket because I like to carry my phone there on occasion. I'm wearing small. That's what plant-based lifestyle has done to me. Right. I'm wearing clothes that I don't remember ever wearing the sizes of them. I've even got a pair of 30 slim fit Wranglers. My wife can go dancing once in a while, you know, and she likes the Wrangler look, you know, and I've worn the 30s a few times, like I say, the small t-shirts, you know. It's pretty neat. It's been a whole new life for me. I've learned to enjoy the taste of the stalk of a broccoli. Cauliflower. You know, used to you'd cut those chunks of broccoli off and just save the floret. And now I haven't put sugar on anything for almost 3 years. I've gotten off of that addiction. The stalk of these vegetables are incredible. You know, fruit juices are like sugar to me now. Well, you know, the juice of a fruit. I try to stick with the whole food. And it's been great. I mean, it's a whole new adventure when you go to the grocery store, when you look at stuff online. I didn't know there were so many places that you could get suggestions and recipes and ideas. I mean, I read Eat and Run by Scott Jurek, and I found this thing called Bulgur, B-U-L-G-E-R, one of my favorite grains now, next to quinoa. I finally learned how to say quinoa. How big is that? That's a pretty big deal. And I can even spell it. You know, it's just been incredible. It's been a whole new way of life. And
so you've lost some weight. Do you mind telling us how much weight you've lost?
I'm down about 82 pounds. I'm 5'8". I was at 240, and you know, my son was coming on a camping trip back in May of 2015. And he told me about he was unloading all this fruit and vegetables and we're camping, okay? And he's unloading a rice cooker. And I'm thinking, what has happened to you? Of course, he was in his last year of college, broke as a church mouse. And he said, I was doing research to find out what was the most nutritional and the most economical food. And he said, I ran into this guy named John McDougall. And so anyway, I kind of got McDougall introduced to me at that point. And I stopped drinking Coke, you know, all the sodas, and I lost some weight and was eating a whole bunch of beans and rice, and it was in that transition. And a few months later, I had the heart attack and the bypass, and we could do sessions on that, Tim. I'm telling you, I just kind of bumped into that way of eating in May of 2015, and I just. You know, it just, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm cool. I was still doing some dairy, you know, like putting on the big salads that I was eating at that point. But when I came home the 9th day of October in 2015 and sat there and wasn't supposed to do a whole lot after the surgery, I watched everything I could find online about bypass surgeries, everything John McDougall had on YouTube. And I was just shocked. And then we watched the Forks Over Knives, Plant Pure Nation, everything I could find on Netflix, you know, and some of them I'd watched 2 and 3 times. I started buying books and listening to them. through my hearing aids and through my iPhone. And some of these books I've listened to now a dozen times. I would say that How Not to Die, China Study, some of these books I've listened to maybe a dozen times or more.
Yeah.
And it's just I can't get enough of it. And every time I go through it, it's like, wow, I just couldn't wrap my mind around it at that point. But this time I got something new. And it's like always a new adventure. And maybe my wife would equate it sometimes as like that cartoon movie that came out and the dog would be talking through his device, and all of a sudden he's, you know, they've got an adventure, they've got to conquer something, and oh, there comes a squirrel, you know.
Oh, the movie. Oh, yeah. I love
Yes,
that movie.
and it's kind of that way with me in nutrition and the whole food, plant-based, no oil, no sugar, no salt, you know. Everything's new. And how is it that this could have been going on for decades?
Yeah.
I got it. And now it's just like, sometimes it's a wonderful adventure, and sometimes I get angry, Tim. I told the ER doctor, I didn't come in here for you to tell me I've been having heart attacks. I came in here for Pepto-Bismol. Okay, I was having heartburn. She said, did you come in here to get help, or did you come in here to be funny? Well, what was I going to do? So the next morning they attempted stents. That failed. They said you're too blocked up. So they told me, you know, in a few days you're going to have a bypass, you know, and sign here. Okay. I had never heard of Esselstyn. I had never heard that you could reverse these things. I just thought it was normal.
Right.
And sometimes I get a little upset about it. I'm trying to curb that and be a lot more positive about it, because obviously, in my case, the bypass seems to have been very successful. And thank God that I was where I was, that I could have had that. I just wonder, though. But anyway, it's changed everything. We'll get into that later. Some of
So obviously you've had a lot of physical changes to this. The weight loss and your heart obviously is doing a lot better.
Tim, I'm running like a crazy fool now.
Yeah.
For a 63-year-old man, you're going to hurt yourself. You don't need to be doing that. You're going to hurt yourself. You know,
Right.
Your knees are going to go out. Well, yeah, there was a little time about a year and maybe 2 months ago that I tried doing some treadmill running. And I don't know, I must have been doing something wrong, because the right knee, which is an old football injury from 1972, it blew up. You know, it was just like I couldn't walk on it hardly. But it went away, but the desire to run didn't. And before I knew it, I was doing 8 miles on the treadmill. And my wife said, hey, honey, there's a 5K going to be down in Glen Rose, Texas this coming Saturday. And this was a Tuesday morning. I said, I've never run outside. I don't have jogging pants. You know, I went to work. Okay, I work a little part-time job. And I'm sitting there during the morning meeting, you know, and I'm thinking 5K. So I got on my iPhone. Grandpa's Got Game, okay? I looked up the 5K event in Glen Rose. It's just a few miles south of here. I entered. I paid my entrance fee all during the introduction meeting at work that day. They never knew I was doing it. I was so excited. I called Betty, you know, I sent her a text. I said, I'm in that 5K this Saturday. That afternoon, I came home and I ran outside for the first time 5 kilometers. And I thought, this is unreal. When I ran the 5K event that following Saturday, hours after I had ever run outside for the first time, 3rd place.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course, there were only 3 people in my age group, but Tim, there were 6 billion people in the world that weren't there that didn't run. And I got everybody. So for me, I don't care if that had been 200 people, I was so happy. And that's one of the things about it. Sometimes when I'm running and experiencing things I've never done in 60-something years, I get so excited I start to cry. And it's not a sadness, it's unexplainable happy.
Yeah.
So it's just happy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've run 4 5K events now. I'm scheduled for a 6-man 100-mile relay in October at Children of the Cane there in Louisiana with those crazy guys. And I'm scheduled for the half marathon the last weekend of February 2019. But I want to be in Leadville whenever they have that next year, you know.
That's awesome.
What's after all that, Tim? Oh, it's a 26.2. That's a full marathon.
Yeah.
You're too old for that, Ray. Get out of here. You're too old, my butt. There ain't no way. I mean, it's just, no, where's the limit? I'm serious. I tease my running club buddies, and I say, y'all are all going to get a free pass to the 110 and Beyond marathon that I'm going to sponsor in 2065. I'll be 110 years old, and somehow, is there an ultra that's 110 miles? I don't know. I'll be 110.
Yeah, well, you can make one. So listen, I want to get going to our excuse part. So it's pretty obvious you kind of alluded to it already, but I hear this all the time. I hear it actually with some family members, and the excuse that I get all the time is, I would love to go plant-based, but I'm too old to change my ways now. And it's, usually this is the part where I'd say, well, why do you think I'd ask you to smash that? And obviously you already alluded to your age. Obviously, at what age did you become plant-based?
It would have to be November. I mean, totally over the edge, plant-based, November 2015. So this November, that will be three years, 100%. But I was graduating toward that since May of 2015.
And you were how old then?
I went to Friendship High. I don't do math, Tim.
Well, how old are you now?
3 years ago, I'm 63 now. I would have been 60, 61.
Okay, so 60 years old. So for the first 60 years of your life, obviously you weren't plant-based. Were you healthy at all? Like, do you think you ate?
Tim, oh my goodness. I couldn't even turn left. If you've got your 45-degree angle there, traffic intersections most of the time. If it was tilted a little bit, I'm coming up here and I need to kind of look at 7 o'clock back that way, I couldn't turn. I was so incapacitated with my big old belly that I couldn't even turn. It was crazy. I couldn't mow a little tiny yard. I was becoming old, but I was also becoming old in the body.
Yeah.
So
if you don't mind, obviously changing this late in life comes with some challenges, and these are the challenges that people always talk to me about. And again, I'm thinking of a couple family members that tell me all the reasons why they're too old to change and it doesn't make sense now. So can you just talk about a couple of those challenges that you faced, especially when you first started transitioning? What made it hard because of your age?
I think the people that I was meeting every day, family, friends, acquaintances, work acquaintances, I just think they thought it'd probably be a little flash in the pan and it'd be over. The doubting, the criticism, the naysayers, the negative attitudes. He's crazy.
Yeah.
And I really think that was it. You've heard the expression, somebody says, and I see this at my little part-time job, and they say, aren't you a little bit too old to be doing that, moving around 65-pound bags of stuff? And I say, hold my beer, watch this, in other words. And I kind of take that as a challenge. People say, you're too old for that. I say, okay, watch. Old is a state of mind. I mean, it's really got nothing to do. I feel like I'm getting a brand new life, and I've got the mentality of a teenager, and I'm improving the body. The old man skin and bones thing. I had a very dear family member, look at me one day when I was explaining the body mass index, how that, I'd lost at that point about 78 pounds, and I needed to lose about with 12, 16 more to be at that perfect BMI. And they said, you already look like an old man with nothing on your arms but skin and bones. And it really kind of hurt because it certainly looked a lot better than that 240-pound guy laying there with tubes out of his mouth and veins, they'd cut open my leg. They had to go 4 places in my legs to find enough veins to put on the bypass.
Wow.
Because the whole system was polluted with the way I had lived for those 60 years that brought me to that point. What was your question, Tim? I think I got distracted.
Yeah, so it's basically you set one challenge for all the friends and family. But how I would say at 60 years old, you had a lot of habits that were rooted for 60 years, right?
Do you know what it's like to be addicted to sunflower seeds? Okay. I mean, the red hot pork rind things,
Yeah.
I had routines that were years old where they had the best sodas, fountain drinks, okay? Those people knew me like family. It was kind of a change. It was like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it never was difficult because I didn't want to go back to the surgery. I didn't want to do that to my family again. Now, my friends, I didn't want to do it to me anymore. And, but the routine was deep. It was really, really deep. I mean, and the foods I know now were just addictions.
Which that's kind of leads us into the last question, which I feel is like the most important one. So along with the friends and the families, I mean, obviously 60 years old, you have a lot of routines, a lot of habits, and a lot of patterns built up that you relied on. And I think a lot of people are in that situation. Not even like, people that are 60 years old. I mean, 20-year-olds have routines set up. But I think this is the most important question I'm going to ask you is, what are some of the tools? I mean, for you, I think you had a lot more at stake than just someone that wants to get healthier. I mean, this actually was life and death for you. But, what are some of the tools, whether it was mental or physical, that when you would go by that soda place, you would know to just walk away and you wouldn't go in there and just try one more time? Like, can you give us some tools that we can use to overcome this excuse?
Well, the fear of having to rack up another that's an 8-inch tape measure showing the scar on my chest. Okay, that's on my phone. I look at that every time I look at my phone. It itches like crazy. I'm going to be paying on that expense for another almost 11 years. I've been paying it on 2.5 years now. I've got pictures of people that were there in that room with me, besides me. On that bed in recovery, not even awake. They didn't even know if I would wake up. I mean, some people don't from those surgeries.
Right.
It's the fact of all the books I've read, about the #1 killer in America, which is heart disease. On average, the person who receives either stents or bypass is back within a few months to have the same procedure again, because they didn't change anything that put them there in the first place. They do the same old thing. They go back and they have the same blockages. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not. I tell people all the time, I will not die from the 15 most common chronic reasons that Americans die today, because I take responsibility with every bite off my spoon or my fork, and I'm not going to do it again. I won't do that to myself or my loved ones, my family, or my friends. And I'm not going to do it to the economy either. It's just insane. It's crazy.
Right.
I've got to take control of it myself. And my tools have been books by people who have science behind it to prove that you can reverse heart disease, the 15 most common chronic diseases of America. You can avoid so many things. You can, at 60-something years old, run half marathons and be fine after it's over. I mean, it's there, it's available. And I try not to be real pushy about it. I can be a real rough sheet of sandpaper. Yeah. And I cleaned that up. Take note of that, G Rater. Okay, the guy who does the rating.
That would be me.
I can, yeah, okay. I knew it was Tim. I can be pretty abrasive, and maybe that's not real something to be proud of, but I can also learn to be patient. And you know what? I think that's one thing that's happened to me since I've become whole food plant-based is I've become aware of the abrasiveness that I can have.
Yeah, it's funny you say that.
I'm becoming nicer.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I hear that from a lot of people, and I know it's true for myself. I used to have a wicked temper, like punching holes through walls temper, and I've definitely like totally mellowed out. And some of the science says that maybe it's the meat. Like I don't really know what it is, but I think part of it is being grateful and just not sweating the small stuff anymore, which is
we've been given. I mean, let's face it, the human body, however you believe that it was put in place, fell into place, or was created by a wise and compassionate creator. This is an amazing body.
and
See, Tim, I smoked forever. I was at 2 packs a day. And I've read and heard the story so many times. Every time you put out a cigarette, every time you lay down that corn dog, or every time you layer the cholesterol, the infested foods down, your body immediately starts trying to heal what that energy did to it. And when you feed it the prime, the food that was given to it to live on and to heal and to protect itself, the antioxidants that go in there and fight all the free radicals and things like that. It's amazing. And it seems like we as a people just, we take it for granted. And we just want to say, oh yeah, I know it's a wonderful creation and I know I can put that high octane fuel in it and it'll be better and it'll stay healthy. You'll be healthy. And we say, but I don't care. I don't care. Well, I do. I tell you what, it's just been a big change. It's been a big change.
That's so awesome. So I jotted a couple things down. So really, which I don't even know if you realize that this came up, but when you show that picture on your phone, I think that's a really good tool. And it's a visualization tool. I'm not really a big visual guy. I think because of my background, like I'm more math and physics kind of guy, but
that scares me.
Yeah, but the visualization is really, really good for a lot of people. And you having that on your phone, like every time you pick up your phone, seeing that scar, that's a really deep emotional tool. And I think that's really good advice. The other thing you said was education. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people where education is either the first or second thing that they talk about because it's huge. And the one good thing about the education that me and you found is it's all free and it's all out there. Yeah. And it's out there for anybody that wants it,
It's incredible, the stuff that's just on YouTube. But it's just like the China study. I just started going through the revised edition.
Yeah.
Running. And I've even laid down the most incredible playlist of music that I felt that nobody would appreciate but me. I've laid that down and I've gone back to listening to the books and I've added it up. I've got nearly 800 hours of listening to books that are whole food, plant-based, the science behind it. And some of them, like I said, a dozen or more times I've listened to them, and every time it's just like it was the first time and it was a blessing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And that'll get you through more than 110 miles, by the way, just so you know.
You better believe it. I'm looking for a booster for the battery thing. I've got a few located.
And then the last thing that you said, which I think is really, really important too, is you mentioned that it's your responsibility. Yes. And I love that because I feel the same way. And everyone's looking for motivation and inspiration before and after pictures. And that stuff's all good and it'll spark that emotions. But the truth is we do stuff every day that we don't want to do necessarily, but it's our responsibility. And I liken it to paying the mortgage or cleaning up dog poo and stuff like that. I don't enjoy doing that, but it's my responsibility. And I think that's how we need to treat our health and our bodies.
Exactly.
Not be inspirational or not always going to be motivated. We do it because it's our responsibility to ourselves and to our family. And I really, really like that.
I've learned to never leave the house without at least a bag of Washington Delicious apples, or Washington Delicious apples and a bunch of baked potatoes and a bottle of mustard.
Yeah.
Because if you're responsible, you're going to get hungry. So take the food with you.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And we're way over on time, but this was so good. This is by far one of my most favorite excuse smashers I've ever done, because like Ray, you're an awesome person. I'm
so old. I made an admission. I'm going to tell you this. I'm so old, Till. I remember going up to a gas pump and paying 17 cents a gallon.
Wow.
My parents didn't have a telephone forever. I remember some family members having payphones. I remember family members not having indoor running water and no toilet. I mean, they had the outhouse. Of course, I'm sure that's common experience, but old, yeah, I'm at 63 ain't that bad. I mean, 63 is the new 14, okay? I mean, 14 or 15. I'll give you 15. But,
yeah. But it's just you are like such a perfect example. When people tell me, because I hear this so often, I'm too old to change. What's the point now? And I just love what you're doing. I love watching you. I love following you on Facebook. It's so exciting. It's like I hate to use the word inspiring, but it really is to see what you're doing and where you come from.
It's an honor to talk to you, Tim, because I used you a lot. I worked in an environment of a bunch of tough guys, okay? They're all a bunch of big men, And when I began to cut out the meat, it scared them to death. They asked me the same question I asked my son, are you going vegan? Oh, my gosh. And they equated it with being less of a man. And I said, you guys are crazy. I said, go to the Facebook page, fatmanrants.com. I said, here is one tough dude. He is all man. He is all tough guy. And you can see how his motto is eat plants and move your body more than you did before. And I just had to show you this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There it is. There it is.
That is so awesome.
This for the last point.
Yeah.
I use Fat Man Rants, and I tell you what, it was such a valuable tool in those early days, because I was kind of new and it's still a little bit defense. I didn't have a good defense. They better not mess with me now. The man's got game. I'm telling you.
I really appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for spending the time with us. And really appreciate it. And have a great night, and we will be in touch.
You bet. Thank you.
There you go. That's Ray Martin, and what an amazing guy. And I hope you guys liked that. That was like so cool. He's so passionate. He's so excited. And it was just a real pleasure to talk to him. And, kind of when we stopped recording, he said that getting stents, he lives in Texas, and he said getting stents is like a hobby down there, just like their barbecue. So, here's a guy that age didn't get in his way, and he changed because he knew he had to. So, the next time someone says to you, or sometimes even we think it ourselves, that, yeah, I'm kind of old for this whole plant-based thing, I'm too set in my ways, and I've had people say, what's the point of changing? You just let them know that Ray, he's got this excuse.
Smash.